felt it would give us the best access to the strongest possible group of senior insurance decision makers.
Insurtech Insights is a must-do conference, I think, for the network that is built here.
Excellent. Right. Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to briefly introduce Danilo, Brona, and then set the scene 2 or 3 minutes before you can start listening to these people. So Danilo Rapone, Group Head of Innovation at Generali, Managing Director of the company's Innovation Fund, responsible for Generali Ventures. He joined the company from Munich Re, previously worked at Hannover Re, Swiss Re. He's very wealthy. He's an angel investor in many startups.
I wish.
He holds an MBA from Bocconi School of Management and his PhDs from the University of Cambridge. And he told me this morning proudly that the dissertation was about British cultural imperialism. So if anybody wants to debate that with him later, do come up and annoy him. Ronan McGee, Executive Board Member for Hannover Re, responsible for the Life and Health Business Group. Qualified actuary, 20 years in the reinsurance space. Before this role, you were leading Hannover Re's Life and Health business in Asia, and before that you were Deputy Chief Executive of SCOR's Life and Health business unit and Head of SCOR Partners.
Not very wealthy.
I'm Lorcan Hall, Senior Advisor at the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, leading a couple of insurance-related projects. One is a position paper, one is a free-to-access online course about insurance and sustainable development goals, both of which will be launched towards the end of April, and Generali and Hannover Re have generously contributed to both initiatives. I also have 20 years industry experience. So just before diving into the fireside chat, I just want to explain where the topic for this discussion came from: sustainability as an innovation opportunity. So economic prosperity, social inclusion, environmental sustainability, peace and good governance, these are our ambitions for our sustainable future. Yet much of the industry's sustainability discourse and efforts focus on disclosure, compliance, risk management, but what about the innovations that are required to drive transformational change across the 4 dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social, environmental, and governance? So innovation was a key theme that emerged from this research project that the UN has led. We carried out 42 in-depth qualitative interviews with senior executives, both public and private sector. Again, Generali and Hannover Re contributed, as I mentioned. And there was a repeated frustration came up during the research discussions about how much of the industry's efforts are being, again, centering on the compliance, disclosure, risk management. That's all. That is the regulatory side of it. But today we want to speak about sustainability-related innovations. So we're not talking about ESG or CSR or philanthropy. We're speaking about product innovations, partnerships that are actually making insurance more available, accessible, affordable. So 11 teams emerged from this piece of work, 4 of which will be used or have been used to craft our questions: protection gap, prevention is better than cure, data and digital technologies, and transformational partnerships. So in preparing for this discussion, I know some of you might have seen Danilo's posts on LinkedIn. We did a lot of preparation. We spoke to Generali and Hannover Re teams several times, and actually I was really impressed with the number of examples they were able to share, but also the data that just demonstrated that they're delivering societal impact and new types of commercial value. So I think we're going to touch on some of these examples today. So we'll get started on protection gap, Brona. So many parts of the world, households and governments rely upon government supports, but we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're seeing now the devastating impacts of climate change, that government's fiscal space is tightening. Like, how is Hannover Re innovating in the protection gap space?
Yeah, well, the protection gap space is massive, right? There's a huge protection gap out there. There's always probably going to be a protection gap out there. And how do we close some of that protection gap? And I think, you referred to governments there, Lorcan. I think governments are still a huge part of this. And I think what is the way forward a lot is public-private partnerships. So, not governments on their own, not industry on its own, but working together. One example that Hannover Re has been part of is the Natural Disaster Fund, and that is a public-private partnership supported by the UK government, supported by the German government, supported by Hannover Re, managed by Global Parametrics, and that really looks to use insurance to improve the lives of the vulnerable, really. And to give you again one example, the Manila Housing Trust. Manila, is Hindi for women, and aims to protect vulnerable women in India. And one initiative that they put in place, again supported by Hannover Re and the Natural Disaster Fund, was a cover that pays out when the temperature in parts of India reaches an extreme heat. And you've got these vulnerable women in India who are working. The temperature can reach really extreme levels. They've got this choice to make. Do they continue to work and put their lives in danger? And you are talking about temperatures where you are, life-threatening temperatures. Or do they stay at home from work, protect themselves, and then lose the income? And that's a horrible situation for vulnerable women to be put in. So this cover actually pays out. It's a parametrics cover, and it pays out if the heat gets above a certain level in certain parts of India. And we did see in 2024 it paid out to 2,000 women who were able to kind of use that cover to protect themselves while maintaining their income over the period of time. And that's kind of exactly, I think, an example of what we want to do. We can't do it on our own. Governments can't do it on their own, but a partnership coming together from public-private partnerships managed by a company like Global Parametrics, you can put these solutions in place. That's just one example.
What I really like about that example is that it's an extreme heat trigger, so it's a P&C trigger, but actually the benefit is a disability benefit effectively. So it's the life and non-life sides coming together.
Yeah.
And also, like the amount of money that was put into that, the German government put in 25 million euro, the British put in 25 million pounds, and Hannover Re at matching capacity. These are huge, big numbers.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brianna, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that is what makes it work. That's what makes it work. It's a number of bodies coming together.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you. It's for us, I think it's important first of all to state that for us, sustainability is on the one hand something that is here to stay as business opportunity. So it's not that because something changes, as also Cécile Payard said yesterday, the political climate changes, we change, right? We are not like Zuckerberg or other mediocre individuals like that who change their mind easily. So this is to stay. And also for us is business, right? And saying the sustainability is business is not cynical. It's actually in order to make it sustainable over the long term, also financially, right? Because if you see it as a business opportunity, the impact you can generate is potentially infinite as opposed to charity, right? So that's what are we doing to close the protection gap, which obviously we won't be able to do it just the two of us. We need the whole industry because it's massive, but we're all doing our fair share. We have a couple of examples. For example, obviously, as you know, in Europe, there has been and there is still a massive influx of migrants and refugees, which, because of several conflicts around Europe. A lot of them, after what happened in Syria and Ukraine, especially, they went to Germany, and so in Germany there is a large population of people who are there, and when they went into the country, they had all sorts of issues. So then this was really like a demand-led innovation. So we interviewed them, we got in touch with them directly, also with NGOs, we partnered with NGOs who helped them in several ways. So we spotted a whole host of problems they have, which we thought we could help with our knowledge and assets and skills. So we've been building.
Sorry, Dino, just go back on that point. So a group of well-paid Generali people didn't sit in their ivory tower and ideate about what was best for these populations.
That's what we do usually. But exactly, yes. But in this case, we actually went to talk with the prospective clients, the revolution. But this is how you should do it, right? Better, not have solutions in search of a problem, but the other way around, right? So this is you see that it's working, right? Because the project which was called MigraSure, which is going to be a European project starting from Germany, where we now it's up and running. It's called Sicherer Hafen, a bit of a complex name, but very German.
Very poor name.
It's working, exactly. Yep. And so it's a financial platform that helps, first of all, migrants and refugees with the problems there when they come into country, which are mainly to do with accommodation in the first instance, right? So they are helped by the government, but after a while they need to look for a private accommodation. So and there a whole sorts of issues come up because either they can't find it, or if they find it, they can afford it, they can afford the deposit, the stuff. So we are helping them with accommodation and with the deposit guarantee on the accommodation, which is their main hurdle, with the guarantee on the deposit, which makes it easier for landlords to have them as tenants. But this is just the beginning, right? This is the beginning of a financial platform which will basically enable them to have all sorts of basic insurance products that are exactly what they need, right? They don't need fancy, colorful stuff, right? They need, a private third-party liability. They need simple mobility cover. They need simple household insurance for the few belongings they have, right? And how do we do this? We've done this because we managed to obviously streamline everything, reduce costs, make them as cost-effective as possible, but still profitable, right? So it's about ensuring that this thing is available there for everybody, and it's working and is promising.
I know, obviously, Generate AI is a big topic. You're using AI in this solution.
We are, because obviously a lot of the people who come into the country, they don't speak German, they don't speak English most of the time. So we have already used generative AI tools to translate the platform in now 10 languages, actually. Obviously, we use generative AI and then we refined it, no? But this, again, was a way to keep costs down, right? And to be much faster.
And make it accessible to these vulnerable populations.
So exactly. So and the numbers are impressive. I mean, there are several million prospective, clients in Germany for this platform. We already launched it in the first weeks. We got a good traction rate with just one distribution partner, and this is going to change. We're increasing the distribution partner, and here the partners are real partners, right? So we're doing this together with some public institutions in Germany, with a landlord association, so they all see the benefit of enabling migrants to just live a better life. No?
Excellent. That again echoes the partnership that was at the cornerstone of the Natural Disaster Fund. Your Malaysian example is a good one as well.
Exactly. So the migration one is up and running and is already, bearing fruits. The one which is still more at an initial stage is based in Malaysia. It's an interesting one though, because in Malaysia what happened is that the government at some point said, okay, dear insurance companies, you're welcome to work and operate here. But if you do so, you have to pay attention not to offer insurance company only for the small percentage of wealthy people. You need to offer insurance to everybody. No? And so, do whatever you want, but just ensure that that insurance is accessible. So we've been working with them and with some other partners on Sidu in Malaysia to come up with a life insurance cover, basically, that guarantees that in families with lower income, if something happens to the parents, the children get an allowance, until they become of mature age, until they become 18 years old, and thereafter they get an allowance to study. Right. So this combines the ability for the family to keep, obviously, to keep the living expenses up and running, and also gives them an opportunity to improve their conditions of life in the future to enable the children to go and study. And this is a large part of the Malaysian population falls within the earning brackets for them to be eligible for this insurance cover.
But just recap on why you're doing that. The regulator actually compelled you to do this.
Exactly. Sometimes, the public sector has to do whatever they are there to do. They have to set the rules, right? And again, this is not. It's not that we felt like, oh my God, the government is compelling us to do something we don't want to. It spurred creativity. We were compelled. We didn't start complaining or moaning about it. We were like, okay, let's get our hands dirty and do something where we can actually help people, but also, again, create a sustainable business model where we're going to eventually make money out of it. Right?
Excellent. So, Right, moving on. Prevention is better than cure, Brona. As we know, it's better to prevent risks from materializing than from them happening. What are you doing in this space?
Yeah, we're doing a lot. I totally agree, Lorcan. Prevention, all the consumers know, all the policyholders know, nobody is as invested in their own health as their life insurance company, right? And really, the more research we do, or the more people talk to consumers, that comes back. People understand that. They get it, right? They really do get it, that that the company most interested in my health or most invested in my health is my life insurance company. So how do life insurance companies and life and health insurance companies use that to kind of engage with their policyholders and get to better outcomes for the policyholders, but also for the insurance companies? And I think that's the key.
And also publicly funded healthcare system as well. You're putting less strain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. But I think that's the key, is that it has to work for all parties, right? So doing something for the policyholders, that's very nice, but if it's just a cost, it's never going to work, right? But doing something for policyholders that actually reduces the cost, that's where you get the sort of the sweet spot. So, you know, again, as an example, we've done some work. We've just announced a partnership recently, actually, with a company called Galanis RX in the US, and they work with healthcare companies or health insurance companies, and really using genetic testing and somebody's health conditions to kind of predict how they're going to metabolize certain medicines. So how they're going to actually react to certain drugs and certain medicines. And that does lots of things. So it helps the patient or the policyholder avoid kind of adverse reactions, which again can be very serious. Nobody wants to have an adverse reaction to a drug. But for the health insurance company, it means that the money is being spent where it needs to be spent, and you don't spend money on these drugs and medicines that either lead to no reaction at all, or even worse, a negative reaction. So there's kind of a win-win. It's good for the policyholder and it's good for the insurance company, and I think that's where you have to. There has to be a gain on both sides.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day about prevention.
Give us another
We've
example.
done a lot of work on the prevention space, because I really do think this is where we can have such an impact for the in-force policyholders that all the companies have, as well as acquiring new policyholders. I mean, if you talk about the in-force side, we've done a lot of work in the UK actually with a company called Gene Planet UK, where you can take somebody's, again, genetic testing, their lifestyle information, some health information, and really develop personalized insights to give people actionable information. So things they can actually do to improve their health across all perspectives, their sleep, their diet, their exercise, but personalized to them on the basis of this information that Gene Planet collects. And our experience on the results of pilots is that people react to that. Yeah. I mean, if the information is tailored and personal and it's from somebody you can trust, then people will react to it. Or then if we talk about kind of acquiring new policyholders, sort of adding things to new products. And one of the examples we've done is in South Africa, working with a pharmaceutical company, MSD, big pharmaceutical company, to develop a rider that can be sold with life insurance policies. And the rider basically enables people, it pays out an additional lump sum if genetic testing determines that if you get cancer, there's a targeted therapy that will work for your particular type of cancer and your own genetics. And if there's a target therapy that's available, then the rider pays a lump sum to fund the cost of that. And again, people are getting much better outcomes, and it translates into less death claims for the insurance company. So again, a win-win perspective. But I mean, there's so much you can do in this space. I think the universe is just endless. Yeah. But you really want to be getting to better outcomes for the insurance company and better outcomes for the policyholder. And again, no insurance company can do this by themselves. Yeah. It takes a partnership with either a pharmaceutical company or a healthcare company, but you're creating this solution coming together all around the end policyholder or the end consumer to really get to better outcomes.
Right, they're powerful examples. Yeah. Data and digital technologies, key themes of this event. Nilo, this is your baby, go for it.
Thank you, Lorca. Speak for the rest of the session. Yes, absolutely. So obviously data, right? Big thing that incumbents, insurance companies, we have a lot of. We can always get better in how we use the data. I think an example which is very interesting and important for us is that of climate change and how we go about it, right? So it's a big thing. So this is only one way in which we are tackling it. And for us, over the last years, we've been working more and more in parametrics, right? So we think that the parametrics is a way in which we can offer covers that have certainty of application. Right? So parametric covers, obviously, I think everybody knows it, but they are different from indemnity because they have a trigger, a very well defined trigger, that when it's triggered, then the cover is activated no matter what the actual damage was or not, right? This is important because it enables us, with all the data that we have collected and that we collected real time with different kinds of sensors to offer covers also where in places where, such as California, that are heavily affected by the consequences of the climate crisis, right? One thing that I think we have to be mindful of doing, not just to run away from risks, right? But again, to be creative in how we can cover them also when the risks are obviously different and increasing. One way of doing this is by using parametric covers, because they enable us to be much more precise, much more specific, and to delimit much more the risk, so as to ensure that on the one hand we can continue covering floods, fires, and other effects of the climate change, and we can continue giving the certainty to our clients that if something happens, they are indeed covered. We've been doing this for many years with Descartes. And here again, the partnership has been very, very important, no? Because again, different skills, different ways of adapting the coverages to the needs of the different markets of the clients, and their expertise in the modeling of the data that we had and that they brought. It's been a win-win for everybody. We continue experimenting new things, by the way, because
I think I've spoken to you and the Descartes team about this a few times. Like, you're actually creating new markets.
Yes.
Many of these SME businesses are actually purchasing insurance for the first time due to these data-enabled solutions.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Right. Final topic: transformational partnerships. You've actually both of you spoke about partnerships in every single response so far. So again, what are your standout partnerships? We go with Brona, for you first.
Sure. I mean, we've loads of partners and loads of very good partnerships. So maybe picking one, I would say our partnership with Discovery, who create the Vitality program. And obviously in the UK, Vitality is a standalone company. In most countries, Vitality is distributed through insurance companies. Yeah, exactly, like Generali, who are also a very nice partner of Hannover. Maybe I should have picked Generali as an example. But so we have a partnership with Discovery, and we have helped Discovery introduce Vitality to many countries around the world, working with insurance companies. So at this stage, we're in 42 countries, 42 million members of the Vitality program. And I think what makes the partnership work, and we've had our moments, right? There's been plenty of heated discussions. It's not it hasn't all been perfect, hasn't all been plain sailing. But what makes the partnership work is a couple of things. We both absolutely believe in what the Vitality program is, to really encourage policyholders to live their healthiest life, their best and their healthiest life. So we really believe in that, both of us. We both bring something to the table. So Vitality know very well how to do a health and wellness app and how to work the program. We know the underlying dynamics of the markets, So we know the insurance companies, we know the underlying risks. So we're both bringing something, and we have that trusted relationship that we can have those tough discussions, and they have been tough discussions. But we really want to get to the right outcome for both parties. So it's been a long relationship for Hannover, but a very successful one, and one we appreciate a lot. Also working with Generali.
You touched on a really good point there. So partnerships, they exist and can continue. From these, let's call them transactional client-vendor type relationships to these co-creation collaborations. So again, everything you've discussed so far is you're pooling your complementary resources, and that's a really important topic. Daniel, do you have an example to share?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the example I wanted to talk about, this is the essence, right? We really build something together, as we also do with the discovery, actually, right? So, but maybe, it's. I want to talk about an example which is a little bit less known, but it has been very interesting for us in the sense of how quickly it worked out and how quickly we found the convergence of interest. Right? So in France, it's about, it's called Risk Care. It's a platform we built in France because we noticed that, in France we had a lot of clients in the commercial space and small corporate where, there were a significant number of claims which, we investigated and we thought they could have easily been prevented. But the problem with commercial is that you cannot guarantee the same level of risk inspection as you do to a large corporate. It's simply too expensive and inefficient. It just doesn't work, right? So we were like, how can we ensure that they get the same level of attention as a large corporate? And obviously here technology helps a lot. So we partnered with two other companies. One of them offers more the software programming side and the other one more the hardware. Because the idea was, let's install in all our clients and prospective clients, in their factories, in their offices, in their establishments, all sorts of sensor to detect, water leaks, fires, damage of all sorts in the production lines, so that we can monitor those. The problem is that when you have sensors, you can't just have sensors. You also have to have a platform that detects in real time and as early as possible what these sensors are telling you. And that's where the work of our partners has been great, because they have managed to create this ecosystem by which the sensors communicate in real time with the monitoring platforms. And by the combination of these, we've already been saving in the first year of operation, so when the sensors were only sold in about half of our client base in France, about 14 million euros of claims that we estimated we prevented, which has jumped to more than 25 in the second year. So this is really, really, really successful. The clients are obviously very happy, because even though they are covered, obviously they prefer having their factory not being burned down, but having been alerted before when this was about to happen. We are expanding it also to other things which also have a little bit to do with climate change, because now we're putting sensors not only inside the factories, but also outside for those that, for example, are close to a forest. No? So there are early detection fire sensor for forests, and we are now also experimenting the combination of sensors in the forest and satellite imagery, so that we can really try and detect these things early on from happening. So this is exciting, and we will be expanding it to the whole of Europe. So it's one of the big ones.
No, it's great. Like we've spoken about partnerships and prevention, I think, again, throughout all the Q&A, which are key themes at the event. And like we know that there's insurability challenges due to climate-related risks, aging-related populations, etc. Insurance and reinsurance companies need to evolve their value propositions, like the risk transfer solutions that have gotten us to where we are today won't actually deliver commercially viable solutions in the future. We need to start thinking about strengthening the value proposition, and sustainability is a roadmap to where we're all going. Any final thoughts you want to share?
I mean, I think you've said it all, Lorcan. I think it is people coming together. I mean, and that's a key theme of this conference as well. But like, it is about partnerships. So it is. Danilo said it at the start. We can't solve it all together. Yeah. But there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of insurance companies out there. You've got very supportive governments who are generally keen to play a role here. There's a lot of healthcare companies. There's a lot of pharmaceutical companies looking to get into this space. So I think we have a responsibility to go and talk to people and create these partnerships and get these structures to work. Ultimately, to build out the proposition for the end consumer and the policyholders.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree, Bruna. And maybe final thought is a bit of a call to action, right? I mean, if you are in a company that still thinks that sustainability is a nice to have, or that is like charity, just go to your boss and tell him, no, man, or it's business, and it's business which is going to be more and more important in the future, and it's going to make sure that insurance comes back to that role of being an impact industry, which we've always been, really.
Excellent. Many thanks, Danilo Rapone, Brona McGee, for sharing your insights.
Thank you, Laura.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks all.